In the last episode, we created two new projects, one for a custom dev board and one for a supported official board. Using an official board lets us use the default configuration and automatically set up the microcontroller pins. We have a scary amount of settings, and luckily, leaving the pin configuration on default is okay on official boards. However, that's not that flexible and you want to learn everything anyway, so switch to the custom project and open the project's IOC file. Don't save the config file if you haven't modified anything. After opening our custom project, the difference is staggering. We have a practically empty microcontroller. The power pins are yellow because they are reserved for power and that's it. But configuring the microcontroller is only a click away. If you click on any pin, the possible modes are listed and you can select what your heart desires. This way we don't have to write basic and boring configuration code, it's all generated. For starters, set one pin to be a general output and another one as a general input and save the IOC file. If we save, the IDE asks if we want to generate code. We can even make code generation a default move, but before we do that, let's check out the theoretically empty code base. Our entry point, the main function, is in the core source folder's main.c file. Source files have their perspective, as I said in the previous episode, so I will set it to automatically change the perspective. I also said it's easy to switch. You can click on your favorite perspective in the top right corner. It's useful to see files in the configuration view too, but build messages, memory allocation, or code outline are only useful while we are writing code. So, check out the main file and please don't regret opening it yet. It exposes much more low-level detail than Arduino. It even shows us the clock configuration. We first initialize the hardware abstraction layer or HAL. Practically these are our drivers. After that we set the clock system and finally we have our infinite loop. We don't have a setup or loop function. Setup stuff are done in the main function, usually after the inits, and putting some code in the infinite loop is the same as the loop function in Arduino. But we are focusing on hardware configuration and we had almost zero hardware configuration. Let's change this, edit the IOC file and see what happens after saving and generating the code. It changed right before our eyes. A GPIO init function appeared out of nowhere. A proper declaration is made too, but we are interested in the definition, the code. Selecting the function and pressing F3 or right-click Open Declaration will navigate to the actual function. The implementation is really detailed. All magic numbers have a clearly named macro like GPIO port or pin, mode, and everything else. Also, we wrote literally 0 lines of code so far. No datasheet deep dive, just a few clicks. Last but not least, we can extend these functions if we want to. The same applies for the pre-configured project. Every configured part will get its init function. Some hardware elements have handle variables too, I will explain them later. The process is the same. Initialize HAL, clock, and the peripherals. Finally write business logic in the infinite loop. Generated code and user-written code rarely work together. Something can get overwritten by accident. I will demonstrate this in a minute. The cube ID provides blocks where we can write our code. This rule applies to all generated functions, like we could extend the ADC initialization, but it's not mandatory. If we write something in the user code blocks, those will be unharmed. However, if we miss those, some misfortune can happen when we generate code. I just edit the IOC file, save it, and let the cube ID do its magic. The magic involves removing code in the wrong place. But finally, write some user code, and it must be the Blinky example. The board I use has a built-in LED. We will turn it on, wait half second, turn it off, and wait another half second in the infinite loop. Instead of pinMode and digitalWrite, we have HAL GPIO functions. Control space will list all available completions, and we have a few. Luckily, they are cleverly named. You could guess which one is used to set the pin. Yes, it's the write pin function. The only problem is the parameters. However, I will show that it's easy to use because autocomplete and the other tools help again. Instead of guessing, we can open the IOC file and check the LED pin. It says PB6, port B, pin 6. It also says it's called LED. This is where the fun begins. Go back to our infinite loop and turn on the LED with the HAL GPIO write pin function. The first parameter will be the port, which is port B, but writing GPIO and hitting Ctrl space will reveal all the related macros, so we can select GPIO B. The pin is similar, they are called GPIO pins, and select pin 6. The last one is a bit trickier. Arduino users are familiar with high and low, but we call those states GPIO pin set and reset. Was it hard? The names are just different, but not really complicated, just like with delay. It's not called delay, but Hall delay. It even tells us the parameter is a 32-bit unsigned integer. Just write the usual 500 milliseconds. Also, hovering your cursor over the function will give a detailed documentation, some description, explanation of parameters, return value, and even the actual implementation in some cases. Let's finish this example by writing the other pin right with a twist. This time, use the name LED, because the IDE prepared some extra macros because of the pin label. Don't let it go to waste. We get a LED GPIO port and LED pin for our GPIO output, but the pin state will be reset. This makes our code much more readable, so use it. And finish the Blinky example with another delay. But this video ends here. We will explore compilation, uploading and debugging in the next episode. Thanks to all my supporters. Please consider tipping on my Patreon or Ko-fi page. Thanks for viewing and see you in the next video.